listener discretion is advised. This podcast contains mature content intended for adult audiences only. Hello, Adrienne. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. If you could start by telling everyone who you are and a bit about your author journey.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to chat today. My name is Adrienne Thurman. I am a debut romance author. My journey to the adult space, or to writing in general, but then to the adult space, is a bit windy, as my journey everywhere always is. It started in the pandemic. I feel like we were all looking for something to do, a creative pursuit, but I was also at that time a new mom to a 1-year-old. And so I was trying to not just fill my time, but also fill my cup up a little bit and try to find something that was fulfilling in a way that was separate from my motherhood journey. And so I had always loved writing and I had always loved stories, but I had kind of moved away from those things throughout school and then my young adulthood. But as I started reading more books to my daughter, I started to let my mind play again in ways that it hadn't for a good while. And I just started telling her stories and making up stories and songs for her, and then just letting myself continue down that line of thought and just play a little bit. So I started writing picture books because at the time that's what we were reading so much of. And it felt very manageable to spite those off during nap times or when she was asleep or something. And so I really just did it just as a fun play, creative exercise for myself initially. But then I thought that they were pretty good, and so I wanted to follow that to see what I could make of it, if anything. And so at the time there was, and I think that there still is, it was like a picture book showcase. And so you bring in an unagented draft of something, and it's they put up the first 100 or 200 words of it, and then they have agents and editors come through, read them, and they can make requests for the full manuscript. And so I was part of that and then had requests there. And while I was waiting for feedback from those agents, editors who had requested it, I decided to write a novel. It was kept happening in baby steps where I was wait, that was kind of cool. I could do more. That was kind of cool. I could do more. And at that point, the stakes were none. It was if I fail at this, I'm the only one who ever has to know about it. So I just tried it on and it was great and I loved it. And the story just poured out of me. My first novel was a young adult novel. And so then I hit up a couple of the agents who I was waiting to hear back from about the picture book. And I said, hey, I actually have also now completed this young adult manuscript. And if you'd be interested, here's the pitch. And I just, happy to send it along. So a few of them were. And then one of them ultimately wrote to ask if I wanted to work with her on all of my stuff from picture book through young adult. So that was my first foray into writing professionally and really seeking out traditional publication.
Wow. Yeah, that post-motherhood, I feel like so many of us, it's so hard to explain to people who are not moms, but it's
Yeah.
a stripping of everything you are or
Yeah.
were because you have this little human who is
Yeah.
dependent on you for literally everything, and you
Right.
lose yourself. It's so easy to lose yourself in the first year, in the first few years of motherhood. I know I suffered with really bad postpartum depression after my first. And this is before Chrissy Teigen was talking about it. It's nobody was talking about it. And I was just
Yeah.
I don't know what to do and I don't know
Or
what's
even what this
happening.
is, what this feeling is. Yeah.
I
It's
just
scary.
need to lay on the floor and hold myself so I'm not hurting myself.
Yeah.
It was so bad. And of course there's thoughts of what's wrong with me and I should be happy that I'm a new mom. And then once I hit that after the year, and I think it's the year of breastfeeding, right? Too. It's just after that
And
year I was
hormones and everything.
oh, woo, that was rough. I'm good.
Yeah. Oh, you're good now? Good for you. It only took a year. It took me a little longer.
Oh,
Oh, you're done? I'm still on mine. I'm still figuring mine out. 7
yes.
years later.
Oh, I feel that. My kids are going to be 9 and 12 next month, which is so crazy banana pants to me. But yeah, motherhood, I feel it just does so much. But to be able to find something in that time, I think is so incredibly precious, something to carry you through, to help you through that. And so it makes sense that you would start with those children's stories and the picture books and then being right, let's move on to something else.
What else? I think it's funny because it's like it's a stripping down and you lose yourself, but you lose a different version of yourself. You lose a past version of yourself. And so it's what comes next is like, who knows? And I think that was what I was realizing is it's like there were so many things that I had been passionate about when I was younger and I just got busy and momentum of life just pushed those things to the side. And I think it was like as I was discovering motherhood, myself in motherhood, my daughter, the world through her eyes and stuff, it's like it really was also as much as it was like unsettling and wild and something that I was in no way prepared for. It also was like such a specific opportunity to like really like check in with myself and tap in and to say, this is what you've been doing so far and this is who you've become. But it doesn't have to be a final resting place because we are in the midst of this complete rewiring and like, where do you want to plug things in? So I feel like it was like an opportunity just to let myself completely slough off whatever else had been kind of like holding me up and then redefine it. So it's all the things. It's as hard as it is magical, as it is an opportunity, as it is something you're contending with forever. So but there's so much there. It's such a ripe time. It's for me, that's why a lot of my stories are coming of age stories, is because I feel like I've always just been coming of age again and again. So I love it, you know?
Yeah, next up, menopause.
Let's do it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
A few of my clients are menopause podcasters, and I hear all the medical advice and all the
Oh my
things and, like, all
God.
the things that their generation is going through now to get us the support that we need for our generation
Right.
to go up of, like I'm like, "Thank
Yes.
you for the work that you are doing,"
Right. It's like
because
talk about conversations we weren't having and needed to be. It's
yeah.
like all of those things. Yeah.
So important. Okay, so
Hmm.
tell me a bit about okay, you got that agent, you had the children's stories, the YA story. Is the YA story what is now Don't Tell Me How It Ends, or is that a different one?
No, that's different. So the first one that I wrote it was in 2020 when I wrote it, and it was like during the time of George Floyd and Black Lives Matter kind of like really like taking over the zeitgeist. And for me, I was like I just felt like you're a mom, and so your world that you have to continue to create remains the same. You're still responsible for bringing magic and curiosity and hope and enthusiasm to this space and to this tiny person who you're shaping. But on the flip side, you're watching these images that are completely gutting you and you are losing hope and you are asking yourself questions about the state of the world and humanity and all of these things that you're contending with, and not for the first time but in a way where it's like right in your face and there's no escaping it. And so for me, it was like that first book, it really looked at some issues of race and police brutality. And it was like very heavy. It was still a romance, but it was really me kind of processing through a lot of things that I maybe didn't have space to process through in my own real life. So it was like doing it through fiction. And so it was heavy and really emotionally taxing to write. And I love that book still, but that book has since been shelved. It maybe was just loosening things up and taught me how to write a novel. But then this story was the book I wrote next once I felt a little bit more comfortable in calling myself an author and then a novelist. I really wanted to write something that was a bit of a departure from that. I wanted to write something that was like an exhale for me and a little bit more fun and a little bit lighter. And I love romance. So where the first was a romance, I knew this would be too, but I wanted it to be a completely different tone. And so for me, I always go just to the rom-coms that I love to read and watch growing up and all of the fun antics, but also the layers of them. And so that's how Don't Tell Me How It Ends came to be. I was just looking for something really different for myself as a writer.
Yes, and oh my goodness, I love this book so much. I'm gonna hold it up for everyone to see. Now, this is the trade paperback original. This has the art in the background. Absolutely love this. The first, the first page, her vibrator dies.
Yes, she's going through it right off the bat.
Poor woman,
A girl.
struggling
I know.
right out
And
the
it
gate.
just continues on throughout the book. Struggling is the that is our word bubble.
Yes, I love this book so much. Okay, so tell me what kind of inspired it for anyone who has not read it. What can they expect?
First of all, what can they expect? It's about a young girl, Kaya Harper, who comes home from college after graduation, and she's sort of anti-romance and anti-love, but gets roped into her older sister's new matchmaking venture as the first client. So she had come home thinking she was going to figure out the next steps into adulthood and ends up on a journey that she hadn't seen coming and then meeting a man who she hadn't seen coming. For the story, I always start with characters. And so for me, I didn't necessarily think like, what should they be doing or what will they be, whatever. I was just really started with who are they? Who is she? What's she up against? She came into my mind feeling very fully formed in all the ways she's like broken and messy and figuring it out and falling down and learning to get back up. And then her older sister, Zola, also. So those two were really three-dimensional and real for me from the beginning. And then I think what I borrowed from other stories that I love was like tone and like the way you infuse levity in the voice rather than having it be like really situationally comedic or physically comedic. So for me, those are the rom-coms and the stories, like the love stories that I love that are funny because of who the people are more than just like them being in this like completely preposterous, ridiculous situation, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I feel that so much. There's a scene in what you were saying brought to mind. There's this scene where she goes on one of the dates that her sister has planned, and she loves true crime. Will watch
Mhm.
all the true crime. I'm sure she's listening to all the true crime podcasts. Is like, yep,
Mhm.
I'm good on the love. Y'all got that. I don't need that. Let me
I wanna be
watch
over here.
watch the murder and mayhem. And she goes to one of the dates. No one is in the parking lot. It's at a restaurant. No one's in the parking lot. The guy comes out, knocks on her window, like, "Hey, are you here for the date?" And she's like, "I don't know. Am I?"
The date or the murder?
Right? Like, what are we doing here? And the way that you described, where she's like, "Okay, so like, I feel like this is the direction that I thought you were going in trying to murder me," and he was
Yeah.
like absolutely horrified.
Yes.
I cannot believe you would think that, and I can see that now, how that might make you
Right.
feel, and oh my
It all comes into focus differently, and you see it through her eyes, and you're like, "No, not that."
so epic. Absolutely love
Yeah.
that. But one of the things that I love is this dynamic that you have with her, where this story is such a friends to lovers that she did not see coming, because her whole
Mhm.
thing is we swipe right and then we move on, and that
Yeah.
is it. And I think that so much of it
Yeah.
is because of what she's seen her mother go through, what she's seen her sister go through. And so when you were coming up with the mom and the sister and how they love the rom-coms, they love, they're into love, and they're always gonna go back for love, and her, as you were navigating that, what was the thought process in having the older sister be
Yeah.
opposite of what she was?
Yeah. I think of them moving through the same childhood and the same or, the same household and the same experiences. And I think of it as really true to life, how you can grow up in the same house as your siblings and have the same kind of experiences, the same traumas, the same parents, and come out of it really differently, whether it's different coping mechanisms or just different birth orders. So there were different expectations on you, and so you reacted differently. I think that there's something really fascinating about the ways that we're similar and the ways that we're different. And I think that for them, for the sisters, it was really like they were opposites in like outwardly. They were opposites in how they moved through the world and how they interacted with the world, but they were really coming from a very common ground and common place. And so I think that it's just interesting to see what's possible. Like you can have this experience, it can all still be true. Your dad still left, your mom's still this, you're all of these things, but you can choose to react to it differently. Or you can try to choose to react to it differently, or just to see that there's another alternative. You can become hardened by something or stronger because of it. And those are not necessarily the same thing. And so I think just having that, first of all, it's just fun to see the interplay of the sisters being like at odds so often and just the way that their brain works. But I also find it to be really true of life when people go through something similar. It doesn't mean that they're going to come out of it the same way.
Right.
And so for me, that's just an interesting thing to explore because it just feels very familiar and very true for me.
What is your sibling dynamic like? I'm so
I have
curious.
2 older sisters.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that tracks
Yeah.
in seeing them reflected versus your approach, I'm sure. I'm the oldest of 5, and I have 1 younger sister, the rest are boys, and my
Mhm.
youngest brother is 10 years younger than me. And so
Yeah.
it's so interesting seeing how he approached life versus how I approached life. And even the fact that my mom was an addict for the majority of my life, but not the
Mhm.
majority of his life. And so
Yeah.
seeing that dynamic of him having a sober and clean, I use clean, I hate that word, but you know what I mean. Not
Mhm.
a addicted mom for his childhood, and then me having a very different experience. It and how we approach life
Yeah.
now is just amazing. It's so interesting
It
to
is.
me.
I think siblings are just, like, such a case study for just humanity. It really is. It's like you're looking at this very contained space, and it's like you've kept certain variables the same and you've changed others, and then what happens? And it's like we're all bringing our own stuff to it, like who we are, how we're wired, how our brains work. But in a lot of ways, like, outwardly, it's like the conditions can be really similar or very different.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting, I think, to compare, like, to be able to, like, have a little bit of distance from your nuclear family, from that home, from that household, and then be like, "Oh my god, like, how'd that mess you up? Because it messed me up like this." I think it's fun, I think it's interesting, and I think it's relatable because, for all of us who do have siblings, whether there's, like, a big difference and a big difference in, like, the upbringing or not, it's just lean on each other as hard as you'll
Right.
battle.
Right.
So it's I love it. I love playing with that and checking into that, yeah.
Oh, it's so interesting. Okay, so Kaya's older sister also is pregnant, quite pregnant in
Yes.
this book. And how did that affect her, do you think, in seeing her older sister going through this very alone, but
Mhm.
also I feel like it kind of made her need to grow up a little faster too. Was that kind of purposeful as you were navigating the storytelling
From Zola's perspective or for Kaya?
for Kaya?
For me, I think the reason it was interesting to make her pregnant is because it's just like another time in life where you really are coming of age again. And it's like you really are rebuilding and rediscovering and redetermining who you are and who you're going to be and what you think and pushing back on things that were part of your childhood or your youth and then deciding what's an ideal version of what I could do next. So I think that her sister being in that space, but also being in a circumstance that felt very tenuous and that she was doing it alone, she had been left. And I think that it just, again, really pushed on all of Kaya's fears and the questions she was already asking and needing to ask in terms of just like, is there a right way? Is there a happy ending? Is there hope? Is there a point to any of it? I keep seeing it end poorly. I don't know that it helped Kaya mature, but I think that it just challenged what she believed and then seeing how her sister reacted in those moments and seeing that her sister could take it on and do it with grace even as she was acknowledging that she was in a bad spot.
Yeah.
It's just another example for her to look to say, yeah, like things can fall apart and things can not be okay, but you can be okay anyway. So I think it was like really pushing on all those soft spots for her.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. The book is called Don't Tell Me How It Ends. Go buy it, y'all, first of all. But
Yeah,
come on.
please.
At this
One of
point,
y'all already have
yes, exactly. But it made me laugh when I saw the title because I'm the kind of person where I'm like, I would Google how the movie ends or,
Oh,
oh,
really?
yeah. 100%. Or I'm like, "So
Wow.
what happens at the end of this? Or who does what?" My kids know
Interesting.
I like the spoilers. I like to know.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
So, I was laughing when I saw that because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, man, that makes me just think about all the times my husband's like, 'Just be surprised by the end.'" Like, "You don't need to
Yeah.
know how it ends." And I'm like, "But I do wanna know how it
But I
ends."
do.
Oh,
Yes.
and so I feel like, 1, just the title called to me, but
Yeah,
the
I hear that.
idea of her being obsessed with the true crime. You know how it
Mhm.
ends.
Yep.
Someone gets murdered every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
No and or buts about it. Sometimes they find the person that did it, sometimes they don't. But usually if it's in a true crime, you got some ideas. And
Yeah.
so I love that you kinda have this person who's wants the predictability, which is
Yeah.
understandable with her childhood, totally makes sense psychologically that she'd be like, "Just tell me how it ends."
Yeah.
And seeing her mom, seeing her sister, and I think seeing her mom try over and over and over again for love, being like, "Mom, we know how it ends." Her and her sister with the eyeballs like, "Girl, girl, girl." Just like, "We know how this ends." But then
Yeah.
being in this where she's getting these dates from her sister while also slowly falling in love with this guy that she's very much tried to friend zone, even though he's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Like, I'm just here and I'm just happy to be in your space, which I love. As you were thinking, "Okay, how do I wanna title this?" I'm so curious about the titling process for folks
Mm.
and how you come up with the ideas, or if it's like someone tells you what it has to be
I
titled.
don't come up with the ideas. I can do a lot of things. Titles are not one of them. This is why you have a team in
Right.
place. Everyone brings something a little bit different to the party. And so for me, I know that there are people who are like, I knew the title before I wrote the first line. And I'm like, that's good for y'all. I don't have that. I had no clue. We played with a lot of different things. And my agent, Melanie Figueroa, she brought this one up and she added to the list. And it just felt right and good. And then we took it out to editors thinking that we might ultimately change it. You just never know. Like nothing's really final till it's final in publishing. And it just worked. I think it worked in a number of ways and it felt right. But no, I don't have that like title gene. I wish I did because it's probably a cooler story when you're like, oh yeah, and I got a vision and this is why. But no, for me, it's just someone said it. I liked it. It worked. And yeah, it made it through all the rounds of cuts where it could have changed. It didn't. So
Nice.
for this one, that's how it played out. Yeah. She also actually titled the next book too. So
Sweet. I love that.
Mhm. That's
Yeah.
called a teammate.
I am not a titler.
No,
I'm
it's hard.
oh, man, both my kiddos are autistic. I'm fairly certain I am as well. I just have not gotten diagnosed. So my titles are like, it is what it is. This is We
Oh
Read
my
Smut
God.
because that's what we're talking about. We
Which
Read
I love.
Smut. Come on, it's so clear. But my first podcast that I did with my sister, we were talking about cults from the perspective of growing up in one. And it was called Two Sisters and a Cult.
Mm.
Very basic on titling, but you look at it, you know exactly what you're getting.
Yeah.
Two sisters talking about cults. Here we go.
Let me tell you, We Read Smut, Two Sisters and a Cult. I'm clicking.
Right.
I'm listening. So it was very well done on both fronts. I like it.
So, yeah, I can't imagine having to come up with a title for a story and being like, "All right, this is what it's gonna be," and I knew it ahead of time. No. Not at
It's
all.
hard. Mine always feel like placeholders until someone else fixes it. I'm like, that's gotta be someone else's job.
Right. Title for
Yeah.
this book is just the title of this book. There we go. Just that's
Yeah.
the placeholder. I love it.
Mm.
Okay, so Ro is our male main character. We only get Kaya's point of view in this story, which I love a single point of view because then you can just kind of fill in the blanks of what you think other people are thinking.
Yeah. I think every story just needs something different, but for this one, it felt right to just have hers because it was like so much. It was like so much her story
She was going through it.
and her mess. Yeah, to figure out. Yeah.
So he is like the complete opposite of her. Very much, I would consider him, although he is artistic in that way, I still find him to be very rule following in his approach to things. This is the way it's going to go. And this is like when they first meet, where he's like, you know, this is a fire lane. You're not supposed to be parked here. Only someone who likes to follow rules would harass somebody. And I say harass because that's what it would feel like to me, very much to how it felt like to Kaya being like,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
literally in the passenger seat. Clearly, I
Like,
did not
that's
drive the
not,
car
this
here.
isn't your business. No one sent up a flare. We don't need you for this part.
Are you a police officer? No? Okay,
Yeah.
goodbye. Have the day you
Yeah.
deserve.
There you go. You're giving me lots of little Kaya-isms as you go. I'm like, okay, now I see why you picked this book up.
Yep. For sure.
I got it. I see you.
Yep. Absolutely loved it. So
Yeah,
if you want a book about
amazing.
Alicia, there. No, I'm just kidding.
You have it. It's this
It's
one.
this one. So yeah, I found him to be very opposite to her energy, which I think they balanced each other out so beautifully. And then that kind of, he knows what he wants. She doesn't know what she wants. He is struggling at the same time, though, with a family situation that I think is such an important aspect of romance, is that we get to
Mm,
see the lives that we have and the struggles that we have reflected in these stories, and not in a like, the world is falling apart into pieces kind of way. Sometimes we need those stories, but
mhm,
his dad is struggling with dementia. And so he
mhm.
is home supporting his dad and has set his art to the side a little bit, very little bit, to help his dad run his auto shop, to be there for his parents, to support them, and just the love and affection that, and the kind of parents that he had, and how he approaches life very differently than how Kaya does. When you were fleshing out his character, adding this idea of dementia and what his quote unquote struggle would be, not that everybody needs a struggle, but what his struggle would be, why was dementia or some type of disease around his parents important?
I think a lot of times the characters kind of lead you through stories. So I'd love to say that I had sat down beforehand and I'd really thought it all out. But in a lot of ways, I'm a discovery writer. So as
Mhm.
I'm going, and I'm pulling from things that I'm familiar with, things that have touched my life, things that I want to give a spotlight to for different reasons. And so for Ro, I think that what was important to me is that you get to know him layer at a time,
Yeah.
because I think that one of the things that Kaya is hopefully learning throughout is that she cannot keep rushing to judgment. And so we see her in that car reacting like that. Who are you and what are you
Yep.
doing? And then we pull a layer back. And I feel like every time we're meeting Ro, we're going along with Kaya into these deeper planes of who he is.
When she says, "You're
And
just the mechanic," or "You're just the car
the
guy."
dragon.
Yes. I was like, "Oh, no, take it back. Take it
I
back.
know.
Take it
So is she,
back."
girl. But yeah, so I think it's just the realization that you don't have someone's full story
Right.
at a glance or a second look or a third or at 6 months or at a year. You're constantly pulling back the layers of a person. And again, like similar to Zola, I think it was just the realization that you can go through these really hugely impactful, difficult challenges and still remain open and vulnerable and available and curious and interested in the world. And you can interact with the world and people without the assumption of how it's going to end, because it's really not about that. It really is about the journey. And so I think that him dealing with his father's early onset dementia and the degenerative nature of that disease, I think it's another time where being present and being in the moment and appreciating each moment
Yeah.
simply for existing is so important. And so I think it's just furthers that point for him and for her to see it and look back and say, "Oh, I thought you had it all. I thought you were good. I thought you had it easy and I had it hard." And then to kind of just put things into perspective. And I think it's just, again, all weaving together this thing that we all are dealing with all the time, which is just figuring out how to hold all of these realities at once and remain open and as positive as possible and just make sure we're like going out into the world and doing good anyway.
Yeah, they're doing good anyway. Doesn't matter the day you had, it's okay. We can be kind, and that's something I'm,
Yeah.
like, constantly telling my kids. We don't have to be nice to people, but we are always
Yeah.
kind. It
Yeah. Oh,
doesn't
yeah.
matter if they're a jerk to you. No, you don't have to take it, and you can still be
Right.
kind.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That nuance is so hard to teach because it's case by case. I'm like, here we didn't hit him back because, and then here
Right?
we did. So yeah, it's so hard to teach your kids and your characters some of these truths, but
Right.
so necessary.
So
And yourself, my God.
still teaching myself things every
Absolutely.
day.
Every day.
Ah, okay, so you have another book that you're working
Yes.
on. I wanna know if you
Yes.
can tell us what it is about, what we can expect, when we can expect it, etcetera.
Yes. So the second book, it's interconnected, but standalone. So the second book which there's a chapter, like a teaser chapter in the back of Don't Tell Me How It Ends, and it's for Zola's story. And so we're a few years into the future with Zola, and so now she's had the baby and she's a single mom, and we see where she's at with her company and what's going on there. And so we'll see some of Kaya and Ro and their circumstance, like where they're at in these like what these past few years have meant for them. But yeah, Zola's really the focus and giving her a moment to find her happily ever after, getting to know her, I think, pretty well in this first book with Kaya. It's really fun. It's tonally completely different because Zola's completely
Right.
different. And so it's a lot more mature and it's a lot like sexier and softer. And I think it's a really fun rediscovery of self and sensuality and independence and freedom. And again, like that, like redefining and rewiring yourself after you have kids and getting to be like, all right, we're not treading water. So
Right.
what are we doing next? But it's a lot of fun. And that one comes out, it's slated now for April 2027.
Sweet. Oh my goodness, I cannot
Mhm.
wait because I loved Zola in this story. Definitely resonated with that older sister energy
Yes.
of dragging your siblings along and just being like, you're going to get yourself together,
Yeah.
whether I help you or not. And I'm definitely going to be helping you along the way. So let's go.
But also realizing that you're still in progress and in process
Right.
too. Just the same. Yeah.
It makes me think of recently, my sister deactivated her Facebook account, and that was the only way I was talking to her. And so I
Hmm.
sent her a letter because she doesn't have a phone. So I sent her a letter to her address and a card. It was like, respectfully, disrespectfully, text me, bitch. Just like,
Yeah.
here's
Oh,
my
that's
phone number.
hard.
Yeah, I'm dragging you along. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like you got some stories up your sleeve that
oh,
yeah. I'm like, and then what happened?
yep. But yeah, so that older sister energy I definitely vibed with. So excited to hear her story. And she needs soft, she needs sensual, she needs that.
Hmm.
So I'm
Yep.
I'm so happy that she's getting that story
Yeah,
for
she's gonna
her.
get it.
So good. Okay, where can people find the book? Buy it, of course. Y'all need to go buy it. I did listen to the audiobook. It is fantastic for anyone
Yeah.
who is an audiobook lover. Check that out for sure. And then where is your favorite place for people to connect with you on social media and engage with you in that way?
I'm, like, not wildly active anywhere, but I'm on Instagram because I have to be on Instagram. So if I'm not on it every day, I'm on it every few days, every week or whatever. So if people are there or tagging me in things or DMing me or whatever, I'm always gonna ultimately get it and get back. And that's the most reliable one and has been for a while now. I'm on Threads sometimes, then sometimes I'm not because it's just a lot.
It's a lot.
Um, so Instagram for sure is definitely a good way to get at me. And then also I have my contact stuff up on the website. You can contact through the form and stuff. So yeah, I'm definitely accessible and I love chatting with readers. And so it's so fun at this part of the process to be like actually able to be like, what do you think of the book?
Yes.
So yeah, so I'm really enjoying connecting with readers in that way. So definitely get at me on Instagram.
Awesome. And we'll have links for that in the show notes as well as where to buy your book. Go ahead and grab
Yes.
that. Adrienne, thank you so much for being on. This was an
Thank you for
absolute
having me.
blast. So much
Yeah, it was
fun.
so fun. It was so nice to meet you.